Hey, it's your boy, your man-child, Logan Alexander, here to discuss May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Even though May is just passed, doesn't mean your mental health issues have. Kind of like how there's African American History Month, doesn't mean African Americans stop having history or culture or problems. Or Earth Day being like, if anything, it shouldn't just be a fucking day. Maybe spread it out at least a week. Pick up trash an extra day. We're now into June, and I'm gonna call this month just hanging in there June, because I know that's how a lot of us feel. That's certainly how I feel often. And that brings me to my most important point, at least for this video, uh, that I have for a long time struggled with mental health issues, particularly depression and anxiety. And I didn't let enough people know just how much I was struggling. Because, well, for a variety of reasons. Chief among them being that there's not enough mental health awareness. At least when I started experiencing the symptoms, um, having depression and anxiety wasn't really a widely known thing. Yeah, I was depressed and anxious before it was cool. I'm a mentally ill hipster. The second big reason is, well, I'm a dude. At least I was raised as one and appear as such to most people. So the realm of mental health is pretty bleak for guys in particular, or at least heteronormative guys, or what people expect them to be. It's not cool. It's not masculine to have weakness, especially something that is, what people would describe as to being unseen or to being a feeling. We men confront things head on with actions, and it's difficult to articulate your feelings on mental health without this being called a bitch. I wanted to be cool and aloof and the kind of person who wouldn't let shit get to me. But everybody has their breaking point. Nobody is immune to stress. Actually, there is some disorder where people are immune to stress. So, whoops. And she actually doesn't feel pain either. Her name is Joe Cameron. So, yeah. But that can have a downside because pain is useful. It's your body saying, "Hey, whoa, stop," or "You did something wrong," or "Something was done wrong to you." And I wasn't really listening to that. I think a lot of people aren't. That doesn't mean you need to fucking, dote on yourself all the time, but you do need to, listen to symptoms when they're piling up, and not just in the WebMD sense. For me, it was like, oh, I'm a guy. I don't really have those kinds of feelings. Just like women don't poop, and women really do poop, and it tends to be worse because they'll hold it all in like on a huge shopping trip and then just let it all out in an explosion. Pressure cooker, volcano. Men do that with their feelings. That's not to say that I haven't been, pretty whiny at times, and that being kind of a kind of fuel for the fire, but or lack thereof, because depression really is just like it's a numbness, coldness. But there's a lot of stigma around mental health, and it's a shitty situation. It's a situation. It's like depression is constipation of the brain, and anxiety is diarrhea of the brain. The third reason for the other people in the world who do this for free is, well, insurance doesn't cover that kind of shit, or at least it didn't at the time. Like, especially if you don't have it, you can't cover something if you don't have insurance. Insurance is a big fucking problem in the United States, whether regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're on or where you grew up. It's not what it needs to be. And especially if you're poor, which my family kind of was, is you're not going to have coverage for things that other people might. But if you're not quite poor enough, you're not going to be on government assistance, so you're not going to be able to get the benefit of that safety net. Or if you live in a state that doesn't have that safety net, you're fucked. So there's a big gap there, and if you're experiencing a mental health crisis, you might be dissuaded from getting treatment because you simply can't afford it. I know that I'm like, or you don't know where to go. I didn't know where to go. I'm like, well, I can't sleep. I don't want to eat. Nothing makes me happy, or especially things that I used to enjoy doing. So you kind of just are in a flux. You're in a fuck flux. A flux. What's really silly about all of it is similar to how we view the mouth and the teeth as is different somehow from the rest of the body. At least that's what insurance considers it. The brain is somehow considered something different. It's comprised entirely of emotions or thoughts or theoretical rather than a physical entity or of something that actually requires nutrients and stimulation and rest. So it's case in point, if you experience a certain amount of vitamin deficiency, you start to experience symptoms of depression or other mental ailments. So it's kind of tragically interesting that mental health is somehow just considered, based in thought and feeling, when in reality it's quite physical. This is not to say that a lot of it can't be fixed or at least treated with emotional or thought-based stimulation or techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. You can fucking form your own initialisms, I think, audience. Or having a good environment. But that being said, having mental health issues is indeed something that can't just always be fixed with those emotions or thought-based techniques. So sometimes it requires medication. It's just like a car requires, if it has a dead battery, it requires a jump start to get going. Transmission is fucked. You're not going to be able to shift gears in traffic with the rest of everyone else, which is going to create more problems, such as accidents or on purposes. Probably the fourth reason is that I wanted to do the right thing, and I didn't want to burden other people with my problems. So despite as much of a bitch as some people might have thought I was, I was really trying to just keep it together. And unfortunately, it made me weaker in many respects. It's kind of like if you've seen Silver Lining Playbooks, how the main dude, Bradley Cooper, is saying how he didn't realize he was just white knuckling it, for the last several years when he was struggling with a broken marriage or his anger issues. And that's what I was doing. And I was trying to shoulder the burden of others, emotionally, often, and sometimes physically. Because I came from, well, as Tolstoy said, every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. So I won't throw my whole family under the bus or say that my situation was markedly worse than everyone else's. I've been slouching hard this whole video. Keeping my chest up straight now. But that's not helpful a lot of times. Like, as one of my favorite musical artists said in the back of the little CD booklet, a poor man can't help a poor man, meaning that if you don't have anything to give because you're so empty, you're not helping other people. You gotta, in many respects, help yourself first. As my mom said, succinctly, sometimes letting somebody else carry your baggage helps them carry their own. So when somebody feels like they can help if they feel useless, um, giving some of that to your problems to them helps them. Um, and I didn't really think of it that way. I didn't, again, the being a male factors into, I didn't want to burden other people with my bullshit. And the fifth reason, which ties into the fourth, is that I wanted privacy. I didn't want to share things that I otherwise would want to keep close and keep to myself, or not need to share it to other people. Um, Everybody has their secrets and just things that are they don't need to share. I know that's quite contraindicative to me posting videos of myself sharing feelings online, or anyone with any desire to be in the entertainment industry, but um, I think the good of this and the necessity of this outweighs the bad. I think more people need to be aware, and I think I've done a disservice to a lot of people by not sharing my feelings and talking about my mental health issues. I've probably shit on a few relationships by not doing so. It might be better for you to keep it to yourself. Maybe that's how you process or channel or manage your emotions. And that's the case, then good for you. That's what you got to do. Most situations are unique. I just want to make it clear that it's cool and sometimes helpful to get it off your chest, and especially with other people who might be struggling. One of the big reasons I thought of this is because, well, there's a guy that I worked with, and he committed suicide. I didn't know him very well, and I wish I would have. He, well, I don't want to drag too many people into this, but he had a crush on this one girl, and I did at the same time too. And I remember this girl was kind of fucking around with him, like not like the fucking around that the millennials like to say now, but she was fucking with his feelings because she wanted the attention, and I made very clear to her that this was a really fucked up thing to do. Especially in matters of love, people get heartbroken all the time, and heartbreak it has a very physical experience. Sometimes it hurts. There's scientific studies to prove that there's significant brain chemistry and a sense of physical loss. It's sometimes worse than much more obvious physical pain, like breaking your leg. So he, clearly was upset by that, and it came out later that another girl had kind of done this to him previously, and then it came out a little bit later that he grew up in a really broken home and struggled with mental health issues, and I think this, I'm not blaming his death on a broken heart, but it certainly seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back. He didn't need to go, in my estimation. I mean, most people don't need to go due to mental health issues. But I always wonder, and perhaps this is silly. It's hindsight's 2020. I was focusing on my own issues at the time, and we didn't interact that much. It wasn't like I was just ignoring him, and I long since ceased having a crush on that girl. But I do wonder, like, why could I have said hi? I mean, we probably had a lot in common. In fact, I know we did. Would I have been able to do anything? Perhaps that's really Messiah complex. really idealistic, but I think it's worth the try. You can't save everyone, but if you can even save one person, that's a win, as Hulk said in Endgame. It's a start. And some of you might have noticed that I like to wear superhero memorabilia a lot. It's not just because I want to be cute and trendy and hip, although I already know I'm all of those things. So, you know, no matter what I wear, it's going to be awesome. I'm the white Kanye. Um, I do it because it's inspirational to me and hopefully inspirational to others. We need more superheroes. There's not enough people who aspire to do the incredible when all else seems hopeless or limited. Um, and you know, for a while, you know, I wanted to pretend I was someone like Superman who was invulnerable, but really I'm more like Captain America, like somebody who's was a nobody and is trying to be somebody. But although this one is from DC, this one is one of my favorite superheroes. Green Lantern, the John Stewart Green Lantern, not the fucking, you know, weak ass Ryan Reynolds, Hal Jordan Green Lantern. Uh, he he's really unique because he was an architect, so his constructs from his Green Lantern ring are much more unique um, and ornate than some of the other Green Lanterns projections. But Green Lantern is based in willpower. That's that they power their rings via their will, and even though with mental health, a lot of people have tried to just power through it, and that's a big problem. Is that you can't just power through it. It's not a workout. It's eventually you run out if you don't have the fuel, you don't have the framework. If your brain is essentially broken, you know, like a leg being broken, you can't run on it. But willpower is essential for so many people with mental health issues, and a lot of people don't realize just how much they are struggling, how much they are trying. It seems like they're not trying. It seems that they're apathetic or they're weak. But I know from my own experience that I'm fucking trying. Yeah, at least now. Uh, and this reminds me that, you know, if I were a Green Lantern or a lot of other people were Green Lanterns, their willpower would fucking blow up an asteroid with ease. Their willpower would make that green light radiate for many galaxies. So if you're struggling, feel free to drop a comment, send me a message. You know, I can't be your therapist. I don't have a license, but I can do what I can. Um, Sometimes that's the only thing one needs is to know that somebody gives a shit. So hang in there, and it won't necessarily have to be a just fine or just hanging in there June. It might be a just great June. It might be a joy June. I mean, if someone like Mario can hang in there after having to save the goddamn princess, you know, 20 plus years, and when she keeps getting kidnapped again, I I think we can do it too. And he still has a smile on his face. I tend to be a perfectionist and an idealist. I want things to be a certain way. I want to do things as best as possible, or I don't want to do them at all. And I'll hold out for that perfect moment. But sometimes that perfect moment doesn't come. Sometimes you have to create it, and sometimes it's a build to that moment. And sometimes being just okay, or just hanging in there, is just a step towards just great. So just staying in the game is sometimes the battle that is to be won. So congratulations to all those who are fanning that smallest little ember of light in their darkness.